The restaurant fell silent as James stood up, his weathered hands steady despite the rage building inside him. The businessman in the expensive suit sneered, not knowing that the quiet veteran he was facing had survived far worse than an argument over a spilled drink. What none of them realized was that Lily, the waitress with tired eyes and a gentle smile, was hiding a secret that would change all their lives forever. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional real-life dramas that will touch your heart. Your support helps us bring these powerful stories to life. James Matthews adjusted his prosthetic leg beneath the table, wincing slightly as phantom pain shot through a limb that wasn't there anymore. The diner was busy for a Tuesday night, filled with the comforting clatter of silverware and murmured conversations. He'd chosen a corner booth where he could keep his back to the wall, old habits from his 3 tours in Afghanistan. "Daddy, can I get the chocolate milkshake?" 8-year-old Emma looked up at him with hopeful eyes, her mother's eyes, the same warm brown that still haunted his dreams 5 years after cancer had taken Sarah away. "Just this once," James said with a wink, knowing it was probably the third, just this once, this month. Being both mother and father to Emma wasn't easy on a veteran's disability check and his part-time job at the hardware store, but her smile made every sacrifice worthwhile. Their waitress approached, notepad in hand. James had seen her before, Lily, according to her name tag. She couldn't be much older than 25, with honey blonde hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and a kind smile that seemed genuine despite what must have been hours on her feet. "Evening, folks. What can I get for you tonight?" Her voice was soft but clear, carrying a hint of something refined that seemed at odds with the budget diner's plastic menus and vinyl seats. "Chocolate milkshake, please." Emma piped up before James could speak. "Excellent choice," Lily replied with a conspiratorial smile. "And for you, sir?" "Just coffee and the meatloaf special, thanks." As Lily jotted down their order, the bell above the door chimed. 3 men in expensive suits entered, laughing loudly and claiming a table near the center of the diner. James noticed how Lily's shoulders tensed slightly before she turned back to him with a professional smile. "I'll have that right out for you." The men were clearly out of place in the modest establishment. Their watches probably cost more than what James made in 6 months. The loudest of the group, a man with slicked back hair and a perpetual smirk, kept glancing around with barely concealed disdain. Emma was coloring on her placemat when Lily returned with their order. As she set down James's coffee, the man with the slicked back hair called out, "Hey, sweetheart. When you're done with them, we need some service over here." Lily nodded politely. "I'll be right with you, sir." James watched as she efficiently took the businessmen's orders, maintaining her composure despite their condescending tone. The loud one, James had mentally dubbed him Slick, kept finding reasons to touch Lily's arm or shoulder as she wrote down their complicated drink orders. "And make sure the scotch is the 18-year, not that cheap stuff," Slick said, his hand lingering on Lily's wrist. "I can tell the difference, unlike the usual clientele in this place." "We don't serve alcohol, sir," Lily replied evenly. "But we have an excellent selection of soft drinks and milkshakes." Slick's face darkened. "What kind of restaurant doesn't serve alcohol?" "A family diner, sir," Lily answered, gently extracting her wrist from his grip. James focused on his meal, trying to ignore the growing discomfort he felt watching the interaction. Emma was happily slurping her milkshake, oblivious to the tension building across the room. When Lily brought the businessmen their food, Slick became increasingly obnoxious. His comments grew louder, more pointed, and unmistakably inappropriate. James noticed how other diners were beginning to shift uncomfortably, but no one intervened. "Come on, a pretty girl like you can't be making much in tips here," Slick was saying, loud enough for half the diner to hear. "I've got a business proposition that would suit someone with your assets." Lily's professional mask slipped for just a moment, revealing a flash of genuine distress before she composed herself. "I'll check on your order, sir." As she turned to leave, Slick reached out and grabbed her apron, pulling her backward. Coffee sloshed from the pot in her hand, splashing onto his expensive suit. "You clumsy bitch," he snarled, jumping to his feet. "Do you have any idea how much this suit costs?" Something in James snapped. Before he even realized he was moving, he was on his feet, his chair scraping loudly against the linoleum floor. "Emma, stay here," he said quietly, his voice carrying the unmistakable command of someone used to being obeyed in crisis situations. The restaurant fell silent as James stood up, his weathered hands steady despite the rage building inside him. Slick sneered, not knowing that the quiet veteran he was facing had survived far worse than an argument over a spilled drink. "This doesn't concern you, buddy," Slick said dismissively. James stepped forward, his slight limp barely noticeable as adrenaline coursed through his system. "When you put your hands on someone who's clearly uncomfortable, it concerns everyone in this room." Slick looked James up and down, taking in his faded jeans and the hardware store logo on his shirt. His eyes lingered on James's prosthetic leg, visible now that he was standing. "Mind your own business, cripple," Slick hissed. "This is between me and the waitress." The diner collectively held its breath. James didn't flinch at the slur, he'd heard worse. Instead, he moved closer until he was standing between Lily and the businessman. "I'm going to give you one chance to apologize to the lady and leave," James said, his voice deadly calm. "Or we can step outside and discuss your manners further." Slick's two companions shifted uncomfortably. "Come on, Richard," one of them muttered. "It's not worth it." But Richard, Slick, was too far gone in his entitlement and anger. "Do you have any idea who I am? I could buy and sell this entire dump 10 times over." "And yet," James replied evenly, "you can't seem to afford basic human decency." Richard's face flushed crimson. He lunged forward, grabbing James's shirt. "Listen, you one-legged." He never finished the sentence. With movements honed by military training, James broke Richard's grip and twisted his arm behind his back, forcing him to bend forward at an uncomfortable angle. It was over in seconds, executed with the precision that had once made James an effective soldier. "I didn't lose this leg collecting disability checks," James said quietly, his mouth close to Richard's ear. "I lost it pulling my buddies out of a burning Humvee after an IED hit us outside Kandahar. Now, are you going to apologize to the lady, or do I need to escort you outside?" Richard struggled briefly before the pain in his twisted arm convinced him to stop. "Fine. I'm sorry. Let go of me." James released him with a gentle push toward the door. Richard stumbled, straightening his rumpled jacket with as much dignity as he could muster. "You'll regret this," he spat. "Both of you." His companions were already heading for the door, clearly embarrassed by the scene. Richard followed them, but not before throwing a $20 bill on the table with contempt. As the bell chimed behind them, the diner erupted in scattered applause. James, uncomfortable with the attention, simply nodded and returned to his table where Emma was watching with wide eyes. "Are you okay, Daddy?" she asked, her small hand reaching for his. "I'm fine, sweetheart," he assured her, though his heart was still pounding. Sometimes grown-ups need to stand up when someone is being mean. Lily approached their table, her hands trembling slightly. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. No one's ever done that for me before." James shrugged. "No thanks necessary. No one deserves to be treated that way." "Your meal is on the house," Lily insisted. "It's the least I can do." James started to protest, but the genuine gratitude in Lily's eyes stopped him. Pride was one thing, denying Emma a free milkshake was another. "Thank you," he said simply. As Lily walked away, Emma looked up at her father with admiration shining in her eyes. "You were like a superhero, Daddy." James smiled, ruffling her hair. "Not a superhero, Em. Just someone who remembers what your mom always said, being kind is more important than being important." What James didn't know was that this small act of decency was about to change the trajectory of his life, and Lily's, in ways neither of them could imagine. The next morning, James was stocking shelves at Henderson's Hardware when his phone rang. He didn't recognize the number but answered anyway. "Is this James Matthews?" a crisp, professional voice inquired. "Yes, it is. My name is Walter Prescott, attorney for Lillian Harrington. She would like to meet with you this afternoon if you're available." James frowned in confusion. "Lillian Harrington? I don't think I know." "You may know her as Lily. From the diner." The connection clicked. "Is she okay? Did that guy from last night cause more trouble?" "Ms. Harrington is fine, Mr. Matthews. She simply wishes to express her gratitude in person. A car can pick you up at 3 p.m. if that's convenient." James glanced at his watch. His shift ended at 2:30, and Emma would be at her after-school program until 5 o'clock. "I suppose that would work," he said cautiously. "Excellent. The driver will meet you outside Henderson's Hardware." Before James could ask how the lawyer knew where he worked, the call ended. He stared at his phone, puzzled by the formality of the invitation. Why would a waitress send a lawyer and a car service to arrange a thank you? At precisely 3 p.m., a sleek black town car pulled up outside the hardware store. The driver, a professional-looking man in a dark suit, opened the door for James. "Mr. Matthews? I'm here to take you to Ms. Harrington's residence." James hesitated, suddenly feeling underdressed in his work clothes. "I didn't have time to change." "Not to worry, sir. Ms. Harrington was quite insistent that you come as you are." The drive took them out of the working-class neighborhood where James had spent his entire life, through the city's upscale shopping district, and into the exclusive hillside area known locally as Millionaire's Mile. James watched with growing bewilderment as they passed gated estate after gated estate. Finally, the car turned into a private drive marked only by an elegant H on the stone pillars. A wrought iron gate swung open automatically, revealing a winding driveway that led to a stunning modern mansion overlooking the city. "There must be some mistake," James said as the car stopped at the entrance. The driver smiled knowingly. "No mistake, sir. Ms. Harrington is expecting you." The massive front door opened before James could even knock. Lily stood there, but she looked nothing like the diner waitress from the night before. Her honey-blonde hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders, and she wore a simple but clearly expensive silk blouse and tailored pants. Without the diner uniform and practical ponytail, she looked like she belonged in this mansion. "James," she said warmly. "Thank you so much for coming. Please, come in." He followed her into a soaring entryway with marble floors and a sweeping staircase. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed breathtaking views of the city below. "I'm a little confused," James admitted. "You're not just a waitress, are you?" Lily smiled, leading him into a comfortable sitting room. "No, I'm not. My full name is Lillian Harrington. My father is Edward Harrington." The name hit James like a physical blow. Edward Harrington was one of the wealthiest men in the country, a tech pioneer whose company had revolutionized renewable energy storage. His face regularly appeared on business magazines and news programs. "You're Edward Harrington's daughter," James repeated slowly. "But you work at a diner?" Lily gestured for him to sit on one of the plush sofas. "I do. 3 nights a week. Would you like some coffee?" James nodded, still trying to process this revelation. Lily pressed a button on a sleek panel in the wall, and moments later, a housekeeper appeared with a coffee service. Once they were alone again, Lily took a deep breath. "I should explain. I grew up with every privilege imaginable, but I never knew if people liked me for myself or for my family's money. After college, I convinced my father to let me live more independently. The diner job was my idea, a way to experience something real, to connect with people who didn't know or care who my father was. And does your father know about last night? James asked. He does now, Lily admitted. I didn't tell him initially, but apparently one of Richard Coleman's friends recognized me and called my father this morning. Richard Coleman? The name sounded vaguely familiar to James. The man you confronted. He's the son of one of my father's business associates. Lily's expression darkened. He's been trying to get my father's attention for years, hoping to secure an investment for his startup. When he found out I was working at the diner, he showed up deliberately to, well, you saw how that went. James shook his head in disbelief. So he knew exactly who you were the whole time? Yes. And he thought intimidating me might somehow impress my father. Lily laughed without humor. He couldn't have been more wrong. I'm still not sure why I'm here, James said, setting down his coffee cup. You certainly don't owe me anything. Lily leaned forward, her expression earnest. James, what you did last night, you had no idea who I was. You stood up for me simply because it was the right thing to do. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Everyone always wants something. Before James could respond, the sitting room door opened, and a tall, distinguished man with silver hair entered. James immediately recognized Edward Harrington from countless news stories and magazine covers. Dad, Lily said, standing. This is James Matthews. Edward Harrington approached with an outstretched hand. Mr. Matthews. It's an honor to meet the man who defended my daughter. James stood awkwardly, acutely aware of his work clothes and prosthetic leg as he shook the billionaire's hand. I just did what anyone should have done, sir. But that's just it, Edward replied, his gaze appraising. Most people wouldn't have. They would have looked away, pretended not to notice. My daughter tells me you're a veteran? Yes, sir. Army. 3 tours in Afghanistan. Edward nodded thoughtfully. And now you're raising a daughter on your own while working at a hardware store. That takes courage of a different kind. James felt a flash of defensiveness. It's honest work. Of course it is, Edward agreed quickly. I started my company in a garage with nothing but an idea and determination. I respect anyone who works hard to provide for their family. Lily interjected gently, Dad, remember what we discussed. Edward smiled at his daughter. Right. Mr. Matthews, I won't waste your time. I understand you have a daughter to pick up soon. I'd like to offer you a position at Harrington Technologies. James blinked in surprise. A position? Sir, with all due respect, I don't have any background in technology. I was a combat medic. Which means you perform well under pressure, can make quick decisions, and literally save lives, Edward countered. My company's mission is to create technology that improves people's lives. We need people with real-world experience, not just technical knowledge. What kind of position? James asked cautiously. To start, I'd like you to join our Veterans Outreach program. We're developing adaptive technologies for wounded warriors, and your perspective would be invaluable. The position comes with full benefits, a significant salary increase from your current job, and flexible hours to accommodate your daughter's schedule. James felt overwhelmed. This is very generous, but it feels like charity. Lily stepped forward. It's not charity, James. It's an opportunity you've earned. My father doesn't offer jobs to people who don't deserve them, he's far too practical for that. Edward chuckled. She's right. I'm a businessman.